Welcome to Sumayya's English classroom. If you're watching this channel for the first time, do subscribe for more videos and enable the bell icon to get notified. Welcome to the second part of the chapter, The Portrait of a Lady. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. My grandmother and I were good friends. They were good friends. The other lived with her in the village. His parents were in the city at that time, so they were always together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I will listen and get to know it by heart. So all the time she was chanting her prayers. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song style. Monotonous means in the same tone. Monotonous sing-song. Sing-song means it's really dull. Okay, if it is in the same tone, it's dull to the boy. She hoped that the boy would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened because I love her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot, and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. So the other listened only because he loved her voice, but never thought of learning it. Then she would fetch his wooden slate. It was already washed and plastered. Plastered means pasted with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot, and a red pen. She tied all these requirements together in a bundle and kept safely. Okay, so she would bring it for me when it's time to go to school. Only after breakfast we would go to school. Come to the text. After a breakfast of a thick, stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. What was their breakfast? Breakfast of a thick, stale chapati. Stale means not fresh and very hard and dry. Okay. The breakfast of thick, stale chapati. Okay, after that they went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. Okay, she was carrying some stale chapatis with her for the village dogs to feed them. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. Okay, they were going to school together. Why? The school is attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer. There the priest was there from the temple to teach us the alphabet and the morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on the either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we threw to them. So where were the children sitting? They were sitting in rows on the both sides of veranda, singing the alphabet or the prayer in chorus. At this time, his grandmother sat inside the temple, reading the scriptures. What are scriptures? Scriptures means the sacred writings of a religion, holy book or holy scripture. When they are finished, they would walk back home. At this time, some are waiting for the arrival of the grandmother at the temple door. Who were they? They were the village dogs who were fed with the chapatis by his grandma. They followed them to their house growling. Growling means growling of dogs making angry sound. Okay, that is what growling, and fighting with each other. They were fighting each other to get the bits of chapati. Okay, his life with his grandmother was really interesting. The life in the village was really interesting to him. So now let's move on to the next paragraph. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So in this paragraph, we can see a turning point in their friendship. When our oldest parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for the boy. He and his grandma were taken to the city. But she couldn't accompany the boy to school. Here came a change in their routine. He started going to school. Which is the school? Going to an English school by bus. There were no dogs in the street. Instead, she started feeding sparrows in the courtyard of their city house. Here we can see a change in lifestyle both in grandmother and the author. Then, as the years rolled by, we saw less of each other. For some time, she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. She couldn't help me with my lessons. She didn't believe in the things they taught at the English school and was distressed that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. One day, I announced that we were being given music lessons. She was very disturbed. To her, music had lewd associations. It was the monopoly of harlots and beggars and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She rarely talked to me after that. So my dears, here years passed by. Earlier, they were always together. That's going to school. Yes, going to school together, learning scriptures together and all. But now, as he is growing up, their meeting time is reduced. They saw less of each other. For some time, she continued to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. When he came back from school, she would ask him what the teacher had taught that day. She was innocently curious to know about his classes. When he was admitted in an English school, he started using English words while giving replies to her. And he would tell her about Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, etc., etc. Poor grandma couldn't understand anything. She became unhappy. She couldn't help him in his studies as she was ignorant of all this. She had no opinion about the English medium school and the English class when she came to know that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. So she was distressed, means she was disappointed and unhappy. One day he happily told her that he had music lessons there She was very disturbed because to her music had lewd associations. Lewd means indecent, vulgar associations. Okay, she believed that it's immoral to learn music. Okay, it's vulgar as it's the job of harlots. Harlots means prostitutes and beggars, and it's not meant for gentle people, means decent people. So she doesn't like it, but she said nothing. But her silence was enough to express her disapproval. Disapproval means dislike. After that, she taught him really. That is, she talked less to this boy. When the others started going to English school, she became very sad. When she came to know that they are not teaching about gore and scriptures, she became very sad and distressed. She didn't like the music lessons and she had nothing to do when he is learning about Archimedes' principles or laws of gravity, etc. etc. At this time, Grandma resigns to her own world of loneliness or seclusion. Now let's move on to the next para. When I went up to university, I was given a room of my own. The common link of friendship was snapped. My grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. She rarely left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel, spinning and reciting prayers. Only in the afternoon, she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda, breaking the bread into little bits, hundreds of little birds gathered around her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirpings. Some came and perched on her legs, others on her shoulders. Some even sat on her head. She smiled but never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half-hour of the day for her. Yes, here years rolled by. Our older grew up. He became a young man. He went up to university for higher studies. Then he had his own room. Then what happened? The common link of their relationship was snapped. Snap means broken suddenly and completely. After this, Grandma accepted her seclusion with resignation. What's the meaning of it? Seclusion means aloofness, loneliness. Okay. Resignation means without any complaint. That is, she was in her own lonely world. She accepted that situation helplessly. Having no objections or complaints, she admitted that loneliness. Poor Grandma. She spent her whole time with her spinning wheel and rarely talked to anyone. From morning to evening, she sat by her wheel, spinning and spinning and spinning and reciting prayers. Only in the afternoon, she came out. Then she found some time to spend with the sparrows, feeding them breadcrumbs in the courtyard. There she sat in the veranda to relax herself, and she welcomed all the little birds to collect around her. They were very happily enjoying the company of Grandma. They would create a veritable bedlam of chirping. Veritable means unusual, strange. Okay, bedlam means confusion. Okay, chirping, noise or sound produced by the birds. So, what is the meaning of this expression? A veritable bedlam of chirpings? That is, they were around Grandma with a strange or unusual confusion of sounds when they are eating what? The breadcrumbs. Some birds were perching, means sitting on her legs. Then some on her shoulders, some on her head. At this time, she was very happy. She smiled and enjoyed it. She never shooed them away. Shooing them away means we know that what's make an animal go away by shouting or say shoo. Okay, and this time our grandma was very happy. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. At this time, at this half hour of the day, the family saw her pleasant and cheerful. Okay, students, here ends the second part of this chapter, the portrait of a lady. Let's meet soon in the next video of this chapter. Thank you.